Hi, this is Victor with QManager once again. In this final tutorial, we will learn how to make the best out of our application by documenting deficiencies, taking and adding images to the issues, creating and printing official letters. To be able to follow this lesson without interruptions, it is required that your application is already set up and that you have created the necessary entries in your contacts and sites directories. If you need more information on how to do this step by step, you may have a look at the other tutorials that we have to offer. Okay, let us begin by entering the Inspect Site section. Here, once more the view is split into two sections. On the left we have the selectors for sites, subsites, units and the responsible contractors. We can use them to begin documenting deficiencies, or to filter the already created ones. On the right we have a list view for the corresponding issues and the basic controls for printing, adding and deleting them. To put our next steps into context, let us imagine that we were called in to inspect a problem with one of the walls inside a shop which is part of the retail space of a commercial mall. To get started here, we first need to select the site that we would like to work on. Let's do this by tapping on the arrow icon in the top right of the left column. This shows us a list of all the sites we have in our database. Let us pick the Grand City Mall that we have created in our previous lesson. Spaces in this mall, we may also specify that it belongs to the corresponding subsite. Note that if your building site does not have any subsites, you may skip this step. Next, we may select the shop in question from the list of available units. In this case, the Andrews shop. Last but not least, we have to select the contractor responsible for the work that we are inspecting. Once again, the list here includes only those entries from our contacts which have the role of contractor. We are now ready to create our first deficiency report. As you see, the plus button on the right is now enabled. Clicking it takes us to the Issue Details screen. The panel on the left contains several tabs which will help us add all of the necessary information for this issue. Above them, a summary of the issue will be displayed to remind you what you are currently working on. On the right, we are currently looking at the basic issue description and details. Let us begin by entering the relevant information. The issue number is an integer that is automatically generated by the application and cannot be edited. This helps prevent potential conflicts and makes keeping track of your documentation much easier. The issue code is a combination of digits and letters that you may enter depending on your organization's standards. The date here applies to the date of inspection, which is automatically set to today. The whittled amount is the penalty to be applied to the contractor in case they fail to correct the deficiency. The phase stands for the current construction phase applicable to the building and location. Whether it is still under construction, during handover, or under exploitation warranty. For the purpose of this tutorial, we may assume that in our scenario the shop was already operational, thus it should be in the warranty phase. We also have to select the task type which most closely relates to the described deficiency. For example, electrical works, plumbing, and so on. The list here includes the tasks that we have already entered when creating contracts for this site. Let us pick the one that relates to masonry. The next field, Place, refers to the physical location inside the unit that is relevant for the described deficiency. For example, the north wall in the storage room. The last field here is the description of the issue. Let us imagine that the paint is coming loose in places and that there are a few cracks that have started to be visible. We click Save, and this creates our very first issue entry. With this, we have covered the minimum requisites for generating a deficiency report. There is, however, much more that we can do here. For example, we may add photos to better describe what the deficiency is and to provide an official proof. To do this, we click on the Camera tab on left. This opens the view for taking images. To take a photo, tap on the camera button on the bottom right. On the device that we're recording this tutorial, it is not possible to take images directly, so I will fast forward the video to right after I've added a few sample photos. Okay, we're now looking at the image that we had just taken. If we believe that it is descriptive enough, we may directly add it to the image gallery of this issue by clicking on the corresponding button at the bottom right. At this point, we may also make use of the free drawing feature of this app by tapping and dragging directly on the image to create some basic graphics which could help outline exactly what the current issue is. For example, let us encircle this crack in the middle. You may add other symbols and shapes at your discretion. If you happen to make a mistake, you may always use the Undo button above. Let us save this image with the markings that we had just added and move on to the Gallery tab. Here, all of the images taken for this particular issue are shown, including the versions with additional markings, like the one we just created. Each image has two control buttons. The first one toggles if the particular image should be included in the formal letter that is to be sent to the contractor. The second one presents you with the options to delete, view, or modify the photo. If we click on Edit, you will be taken back to the camera view where you'll be able to add the necessary markup. Before we leave this section, let us select a couple of the most relevant images to be included in our report. The next tab, Actions, can help us set reminders and schedule actions related to the issue at hand. Let's add one by tapping on the plus button to the right. This takes us to the screen where we can set a date and time for the action and pick its type from a list of predefined options. For example, let us create a reminder to make a phone call to the property owner to verify when the issue was noticed for the first time. We click Save, and we are automatically returned to the list of actions. In the next tab, Timeline, we can view the history of events and status changes for this issue. Currently in the status list, we have just Issue Created, because we have not yet sent a letter of notification to the contractor. Later, this will update automatically, depending on how this issue is resolved. For example, the initial deadline can be extended after a second letter of notification is sent. Besides the automated timeline, we have several fields where other dates of interest can be optionally filled in. For example, the date on which the owner or tenant reported the problem, the initially promised time frame to resolve the issue, the date when the repair work was controlled, etc. As an example, let us just note down the date when the tenant notified us. The last tab in the list is reserved for your internal comments. Imagine this is an attachment sheet to your official documentation, where you may add any additional information and opinions at your discretion. This information will never be featured in any of the official letters or reports that the application can generate. To begin typing here, click on the pencil button on the right. When you are done, simply retract back the on-screen keyboard and click Save. Alright, we're now ready to generate our first letter of notification. To do this, let us go back to the list of issues. The controls for printing letters of notification and internal summary reports are located on the top right of screen. Currently, the Print Letter button is disabled because we're looking at the full list of all available documented deficiencies. To enable it, we need to select a valid status filter, which also automatically sets the letter template to which the issue information will be sent. In this case, we have just created this first entry, and as we saw in the timeline, its status is created. Hence, we need to pick the corresponding status from the filters. We then tap on the Print Letter button, and we are taken to the Pre-Print wizard. Here we may add optional information to the letter, such as header text, footer text, a custom text in case of notification of termination of contract, and a Sign As field, which is the text which will appear as the final line under Kind Regards. We also need to pick the type of delivery that is expected, either via a physical printed letter or as a PDF file via email. In this case, we may stick to the default by letter choice. Optionally, we may also decide to print the selected images from the issues gallery. Let us tick this circle too. We then tap the Preview button to have one final glance if everything that we need is as it should be. If we are satisfied with the look and content of the document, we may tap on the Print button at the bottom left. This shows us the dialog which allows us to select the destination printer. Note that to connect to a printer through your iPad, the printer needs to be in the same local network as your iPad and to be AirPrint ready. We pick one of the available printers and then click on Print. Our notification letters should now be printing and getting ready to be folded and sent to the responsible contractors. With this, we can conclude the tutorial for inspecting sites and thus the entire series of lessons for QManager. The QManager team and I wish you all the best in your professional line of work, and we hope that you will find this application useful. If you have any further questions or comments, feel free to write to us at info@qmanager.de. As always, thanks for watching and have a great day.